There are pieces of gear that are among us that are not of us. There are pieces of gear that look like a thing, sound like a thing, but they're not that thing. I'm Jeremy, this is Guitar Hunter. Make sure you subscribe. I make videos that are helpful for your guitar playing life. Help you make sense of gear, help you make sense of values, and how to buy things, and how to sell things, and how to wind up with a collection of gear that if you did not exist anymore, that's morbid, but people would know what you cared about, what you valued, where you wanted to spend your money, what kind of music you wanted to make. So, I'm Jeremy, let's buckle in. Okay, what is a clone? A clone is a piece of gear that is a replica, a reissue. It could be reconstituted of old parts. It could be a recreation. It could be an homage. It could be just everything about a thing is made to make you feel and look like that thing is original. Clone number one is my 1953 Guild 66J. That on the outside is that, on the inside is actually a 5E3 clone, a Fender circuit. It's like a Fender Champ circuit. The second clone is my Tyler amps. This is a JT22. This is kind of somewhere between a Princeton, like a black panel Princeton, and a black panel Deluxe Reverb. Now, if we keep moving over here, directly behind me is a Fender made Deluxe Reverb reissue, but it is actually an Alessandro hand-wired Deluxe Reverb. It is incredibly cool and subtle and nuanced and very different than a normal kind of Deluxe Reverb. Now, on the far end is a piece of gear I use every single day. This is my Deluxe Reverb. This is a Fender Tone Master. This thing has no tubes in it, no valves for you English fellers. This thing is completely digital, has all of the bells and whistles, and I use none of them. I use this just as an amp in the sound samples that you will hear of all the clones right now. examples of clones would be pedals, these things that live under your feet. Like this. This is a Universal Audio Dream 65. This is a Fender Deluxe Reverb packed into a pedal with Bluetooth, with USB, completely silent, can sound like an amp without a speaker, without an amp. All of the cool stuff. This thing is an incredibly helpful tool, and I've used this thing a ton. Another one is for all of you that love the Rat circuit. This is an OCE monkey wrench. This is made by my boy Chris. It is such an unbelievably cool pedal. This kind of takes a Rat circuit and pushes it just so far into fuzzy, wild, gatey, compressed. Oh man. This thing makes me really, really happy. Now another one, kind of the clone that started all of them, is the Clon circuit. The Clon Centaur gave birth to this. This is one of them, and this is the Mythos Mjolnir. Now this is made by my boy Zach, a dear friend in Nashville, and I love this pedal. And this is a faithful kind of recreation and a bit of tweaking on a really cool and exciting circuit. There are also other clones. There are a million Tube Screamer clones. The pedal world has this idea of cloning kind of down. It's moving into amps, and it's now also moving into guitars. This is a clone of a 1950 Fender Broadcaster. Now, it has a couple tweaks and a couple mods, but it is by and large just as straight up close to that as we can get. The pickups are Seymour Duncan Antiquities, which are wound on the same winders that came out of the Fender factory, and so that thing is just a dead-on replica. Question number 3, how do you spot one? Some are really easy to find. Some are really, really difficult to find. The most difficult of mine is my Guild back here. The Guild, everything about it. The chassis serial number, the frame, the production tag on the inside, everything about this thing, unless you open it up, everything would tell you that this is a 1953 amp, that this is pretty original, it hasn't been messed with, other than maybe a speaker swap. But once you open it up, you realize that every control is different, every single piece inside the amplifier is gone, is different. The power cord is different, every single part. So some of them are pretty difficult, and that's where you must rely on the honesty and integrity of the people that you buy it from. When I bought this, the guy was super fired up. He gave me a copy of the circuit. He told me who built it, everything about it. I'll put a card for that video up here if I haven't already put a card for that video coming up here. Now, the next amp to talk about is this Tyler. Now, the Tyler is pretty straightforward because you can see this is an amp that brand just didn't exist in the 60s, and so they're not making their own thing, and it's just a newer version of an old thing. A lot of these amps, they're pretty straightforward, and they kind of represent themselves as homages. Almost every detail about the Alessandro would lead you to believe that this is just a regular bog standard Fender Deluxe Reverb reissue. Other than a couple little details. The biggest thing that you would see, there is a badge on the front of this. It's a little hard to see, but it is a badge that says Alessandro. Now on the back, you're going to see a couple things. The speaker has been swapped. There are a couple mods on the back. So kind of a sharp-eyed observer of these amps would know that something's going on. But it's a bit harder to tell. Now, the next one is the Fender Tone Master Deluxe. Now, this one is kind of amazing. And I have seen people do the one thing that I think you could do. From the front, there is only 2 tells that this is not a Deluxe Reverb with tubes. Number 1, if you see it right now, it has a yellow LED inside the power when it's on mute or when it's on silent. And so the standby switch on others, it always stays red on a regular Deluxe Reverb, but on the Tone Masters, it turns amber or yellow. Now the other thing is it does have a Tone Master badge. And so with this, it's still pretty hard to tell if, like, I've seen people take off the Tone Master badge and then it's kind of hard to tell. But as soon as you look at the back, this is a digital thing. It is not a tube amp, as I know, but looks like it, sounds like it, and has a couple features that make it really, really helpful. Question number 4, what are they worth? Now this is tricky. Ultimately, they are worth whatever people are going to pay for them. Now some of these, like the Guild 66J for me, that's going to be a really hard one to sell. I paid $725 for that in 2020. Oh yeah, full COVID time. tried this thing with an extension cord. I met the guy. He drug an extension cord out to his driveway. I came up with a mask on, plugged it in, tried it out in the driveway, had to put cash on. The dude was real particular. But, man, overall, this thing, it's going to be hard to sell because you have to get someone, you have to really sell someone on the idea of what it is and the provenance and all of those details about it. Now, if you look at the Tyler amps in particular, the Tyler amps has the advantage of a lot of people have played these. A lot of people know what these are. There are lots of YouTube videos about these. They offer a warranty. They are very open about telling you how they make them, what they do to them, why they're so exciting, and why they're so cool. And then there is a track record of other transactions, comparable transactions, that would give you some confidence to sell this. It would still be a really hard amp to sell if you're in a small town, if you're anywhere that people don't know exactly what it is. You get into the next two, and they become a lot more easy to sell. Number one, the Alessandro, still going to be nuanced and tricky, but it's made by Fender. And it, has a lot of the provenance that you would expect and just the general, it looks like a Deluxe Reverb. It says Deluxe Reverb. It has a Fender serial number. It has all of the things that would give you comfort. And then you would see, like a Tone King Imperial, this is a hand-wired version of that amp. And so once someone plays it and they kind of hear it, they're going to realize, okay, this is a cool and special thing. It will still be hard to sell. Now, I should say this thing belongs to Hometown Music. It will be for sale there if you want to check it out. hometownmusic.net. If you have any questions, you can email me, Jeremy, at hometownmusic.net. The Alessandro, more fun, more reliable, probably a little harder to sell. Now, the Tone Master Deluxe, when these first came out, I was convinced of two things, and I think, thankfully, I'm kind of wrong on both of those. First of all, I said that they were going to kill the value of tube amps. They kind of have. In some ways, all things have gone up, so it's hard to tell. Okay, I'm just wrong. I'll just say I'm mostly wrong on this. But I thought that they would kill the value of tube amps, and I thought that these would depreciate by 50%. They have not. They're still selling for $650, $700. They're only coming off about 30%. Still exciting, still cool, but it is electronic, it is digital. Electronic things and digital things don't age that well, in my experience. So, looking at you, Cyber Twin, that's where I think, in the end, these things are worth what you can get someone to pay for them, or what you are willing to pay for them. Should you buy one? Well, let me tell you, I own 1, 2, 3 of these, and I absolutely love them. The Tone Master Deluxe Reverb I use every single day. I'm not exaggerating. Every single day, I have used this since 2020. I play my 66J, my 5E3, a ton. It's a cool, bitey, spicy thing. The Tyler is pretty new to me, and I love it. To me, it's the best sounding of all of these. The Alessandro, I don't own. So if you should buy one of these, listen, clones are kind of everywhere. Some are faithful, some are just a money grab. But they are mostly faithful recreations of beloved circuits or styles or effects. I'm a big fan of unique, unusual. Now, the flip side of unique and unusual is hard to sell, hangs with you for a long time. You got to be able to park some cash in them. So don't come into them lightly, but they are a way that you get to enter into the larger guitar community. The nostalgia and all of these sound like cool old albums that I grew up listening to. And that's the coolest thing. That's the thing I love about them, is that I get to hear the sounds of my heroes coming through my own hands. Even though I'm not anywhere near as talented as they are, just using similar gear, similar tone, at similar volumes, it really makes things great. So, that is clones. That is everything I can think to say about clones. Thanks for watching this video. I'm Jeremy. This is Guitar Hunter. And listen, you and I have a job. I'm working on it. You're working on it. I know all around the world there are people who are trying to fill the world with music and friendship. Be good friends to people in your music scene. Go to their shows. Check out their music. Download their stuff when it comes out. Check it out on Spotify. All of those ways you can support and make the world a better place. And support local small builders. Tyler Amps. Alessandro, I'll put all the links for everything. My boys, Chris with OCE pedals, Mythos pedals, Mr. Zach, Mr. Billy Ray Broyles. Tell Billy Ray that I told you to go check out his stuff. Rich Allen, Vintage Guitars. Man, what an incredible amount of friends I have making these unbelievably cool pedals. So, thanks for watching. I'm Jeremy. See you later.